Good morning, Miss Hassagen here. It is Tuesday and it's a beautiful day, so I decided to take our reading outside today. We are finishing our chapter book. Yay! Awesome. So I'm going to read chapter 9 where we left it off, and it's called Grounded. As his parents prepared dessert and Harris was walking toward the den, he spotted Zeke's parents in the front hallway. They were both leaning into the coat closet. "Are you looking for something?" Harris asked. Quar and Zad turned around quickly. They both looked embarrassed. In reality, they were researching the clothes in the closet, but they couldn't say that to Harris. Zeke walked in and spoke up. "My parents left the dessert they brought in the closet," he said. "That's right," said Quar. She reached back into the closet and pulled out a white cake with colorful frosting and a pattern of square shapes. Great," said Harris. "You can just bring that into the den." But Harris was suspicious. "This sounds fishy to me," he thought. "They never even wore coats and had no reason to go into that closet. Why would they have put a cake in there?" Harris joined the others in the den. He picked up a knife to cut a piece of the cake and noticed that the squares in the frosting had changed into a series of wavy lines. Harris looked around. Everyone was chatting, sipping coffee, and happily eating dessert. Zeke and his parents were even using utensils now. It would have seemed perfectly normal if not for everything else Harris had already seen. And there's the cake. Remember, it was squares, and then it turned into, wavy things. Why does no one but me ever seem to notice all the strange stuff that happens around Zeke and his family? He wondered. The appetizer that suddenly cooked itself, the refilling glass, the food appearing magically in front of Zeke, Quar and Zad, the changing cake frosting, not to mention everything that happened at Zeke's house, and also at school. It's all too much, and yet nobody sees it but me. "Well, we would like to thank you for a lovely evening," Quar said when everyone had finished dessert, "but we should be getting home." Quar and Zad and Zeke all stood up. "This is it," Harris thought. "My best chance to prove that Zeke's an alien and about to end. I can't take it anymore. I have to convince them. They have to have noticed something. It's now or never." Harris stood up. What do you think Harris is going to say? "That's it. The game's over, Zeke," he announced. "I know that you and your parents are aliens." Everyone looked horrified. Roxy looked at Harris and shook her head. Harris's parents jumped up from their seats. "Harris," his mom said, but Harris continued. "With all the strange stuff that's happened tonight, the floating trays of food, the refilling glass, the steaming appetizer, Harris's mother cut him off. "That's enough," she shouted. "Harris, you are grounded. Go to your room right now." "But now," his dad said. Defeated, Harris skulked upstairs. He had his one shot and he blew it. He lingered at the top of the stairs and overheard the rest of the conversation. Why did he blow it? Because he wasn't nice. He was calling the aliens out for being aliens. And that's kind of rude, right? Yeah. "I don't know how to apologize for my son's behavior," said Mr. Walker. "Don't worry," said Quar. "Our customs in Tragas are very different from yours. Misunderstandings like this happen all the time." "Well, that's still no excuse for Harris's rudeness," said Mr. Walker. Then Zeke, Quar, and Zad left the house and headed home. Headed home? Harris just hasn't been his old self since Zeke showed up at school, Roxy said. "I'm worried about him." "Well, he's lucky to have a friend like you," said Mr. Walker. When the cleanup was finished, Roxy went home. This disastrous dinner finally came to an end for all of them. That's a big word, disastrous. It's a way to say disaster. Like something was a disaster, it's disastrous. It's an adjective. It describes a noun, right? Chapter 10, The Truth at Last. Zeke was very upset. "I can't believe Harris did that. He said when he and his parents got home. I knew he had his suspicions, but I never thought he would just blurt it out like that. I shouldn't have pushed him. Don't worry, Zeke, said Cor. Most humans only believe these things up to a point. And even those closest to Harris think he's wrong, added Zad. Forget about it. It'll go away. Anyway, this was very productive. I think our next research topic might be on strange human foods. Productive. What do you think that means? But Zeke couldn't just let it go. Harris is my friend, he thought, and now he's in trouble just because he was able to figure out the truth. I really like Harris. He and Roxy were the first kids to be really nice to me at school. Even if he was only nice to me to prove that I'm an alien, we have fun together, right? I feel terrible about this, and now Harris is grounded for who knows how long. But he wasn't wrong. He doesn't deserve to be in trouble. And I'm going to do something about it. What do you think Zeke is going to do? What do you think Zeke is going to do? Let's find out. Harris remained grounded for the time being. He went to school each day, but then he had to come right home. He couldn't see his friends. He wasn't even allowed to talk to Roxy on the phone, and he was worried about what she must have thought of him after what had happened. A few days later at the dinner table, Harris said to his parents, I apologize for being rude to our guests on Saturday. And are you ready to admit that what you said is nonsense? Asked his mother. Harris stayed silent. Well then, it's back to your room as soon as you're finished with dinner, said his father. The next day after school, Harris was stuck in his room as usual. He was bored. He had nothing to do except think about Zeke. Even his favorite comic books were taken away by his parents. He rolled over on his bed and glanced out the window. There was Zeke floating in midair, 2 stories up. Harris leaped from his bed and rubbed his eyes. When he opened them, Zeke was gone. He rushed to the window and looked outside, but there was nothing there. What the? No.
That's him.
He's floating in the air, right? Harris turned around and jumped up in surprise. Zeke was standing behind him, right there in Harris's room. How did you get in here? Harris asked. Is this even real? Am I dreaming? Have I lost my mind? No, Harris, said Zeke. You are awake and sane. Well, as far as I know, Zeke said with a smile, and you're correct. Correct? Asked Harris. My family and I really are aliens from the planet Chagaz. Zeke admitted. You are my friend, and I couldn't let you be grounded anymore for figuring out the truth. Harris gasped and said, I knew it. My parents and I move from place to place, Zeke explained, but it is from planet to planet. I'm always the new kid, and I'm always different, but you want to be my friend anyway. I don't know what to say, said Harris. I'm glad you trust me, and I am also glad I'm not crazy. And now I must ask you to help me keep a secret, said Zeke. Most people on Earth wouldn't be as welcoming as you. I will, Harris promised. As long as you promise you're not one of those evil aliens I always see in the movies. Zeke laughed and said, most of the time, I promise. Zeke levitated into the air and floated out the window. Harris raced downstairs. Mom, Dad, he called out, I have something to tell you. His parents met him at the bottom of the stairs. I want to apologize, he said. I admit that I have an overactive imagination. I let it get the better of me. Of course, Zeke and his parents aren't aliens. That was dumb. You'll never hear me mention it again. Well, I'm very glad to hear you say that, Harris, said his dad. I think you can officially consider yourself ungrounded now. His mom nodded in agreement. As long as you go upstairs and call Zeke and his parents to apologize to them. And after that, call Roxy. You owe her an apology, too. I'll do it right now, said Harris. He bounded up the stairs, excited by this new chance to help his new friend, Zeke, keep a secret rather than trying to expose it. I was right. My next-door neighbor is actually an alien. He looked out his window where Zeke had been floating just a few minutes ago before and thought, how cool is that? And that's the end. We finished our second The Alien Next Door book. I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.